Welcome to the Tom Matt Show. You are walking through the front door of the refirement zone. And now, your host, Tom Matt.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Tom Matt Show. Love doing radio. So much fun. Just a greatness. Sharing it, podcast, video, the whole nine yards. Been doing this now in our 13th season. We'll be starting our 14th season here not too long. It kind of blows my mind a little bit. Last week, Allison McClintock was here. Allison's been making some impressions with people, and she's been a friend for a long, long time. She took a little bit of a siesta with our show, and we brought her back a few months ago, and was so good that I wanted to get her back. Facing Your Music, and she's a no nonsense. She is one no nonsense lady. Let me tell you that right now. She don't play around, and if you want some good coaching, you want to get a hold of Allison McClintock because she's got a PhD in organizational management, and so she is awesome and just incredible talent. Just like my guest today, my brother from another mother. So proud to call him that. Dr. Anthony M. Avellino, MD, MBA, and about 17,000 other consonants behind his name. He's got so many degrees, it's just crazy. Anthony M. Avellino, my brother, my friend, Tony, professor of neurosurgery. You know, I gotta pause here for a second because, you know, for his 11th visit, being a professor of neurosurgery and being a pediatric neurosurgeon, I can't even imagine how hard that job is. I mean, the training you got to go through. I know we do some crazy things in life, everybody, but man, I got to tip my hat to my brother because it's like, God, that's got to be a tough job. He provides pediatric neurosurgical care at Banner University Medical Center in Tucson, joining us from his studio at his beautiful home, which we did stay at a couple years ago in Scottsdale, Arizona. He's an active teaching faculty member in the neurological surgery residency program within the Department of Neurosurgery at the University of Arizona College of Medicine, Tucson campus. Dr. Avellino is the director of pediatric neurosurgery because he is the man, and is responsible for the overall operations, evaluation, strategic development of the pediatric neurosurgery service. Just if you ever have to use a pediatric neurosurgeon, God bless you. Dr. Avellino was a former NCAA student athlete at Cornell University, active endurance ultra runner. We have talked about that quite a few times, how crazy that all is. October of 2019 and January 2021. Here's more craziness with Dr. Tony. Fortunate to be a deckhand on the FV Saga commercial crab fishing boat profiled on Discovery Channel's Deadliest Catch. And I am not kidding you. And we did an episode where, you know, Tony, I'm spacing on the Jake.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know Jake's last name. That was crazy. That's on the website. Everybody, you can go back there. And Tony has a really excellent book. Finding a Purpose. You got to find a purpose in this life. Neurosurgeon's Journey of Hope and Healing was nationally released in 2021. I want to welcome back to the show, as I said, for his 11th visit. Performance living is taking off. Live to Give, we're calling this one. My brother, Dr. Anthony Avellino. Tony, what's going on, brother? How are you?
Hey, Tom. Great to be here. You know, I must say that doing these performance episodes with you has been a fantastic experience, is because I often say that what you do is telling stories on your show and enable people to be their very best is absolutely key. You know, and your life story and my life story, we actually share similar core values. And I often say, as you go through the journey of life, it's not what you take, it's what you give back. And what you and I are trying to really do with these shows is really to get people to form at their highest level. Is because I know that you and I didn't get to be where we are today if we didn't have the trials and tribulations of life. And so, but the thing is, it's great to see you. You look very, very slim.
Oh, thank you.
You know, your hair is shorter. You know, your arms are stronger, but you look great.
Thanks,
you know,
brother.
Because I remember that the last time we actually spoke, is you said that you actually stopped the caffeine.
Yes. And that's been going well. And it's been since November. Thank you for remembering that, because it's been an interesting journey. And I turned 65 years old in May. And
65 years young.
Exactly. And you know what? Growing older and not getting old. And it's so awesome. Feels so good. Want to keep doing what we're doing. And so we have, Vanessa, my virtual assistant, who loves hearing her name on radio and on the podcast, who's helping so much with our video and our content creation. And so, you got to bring people around you, Tony, to help elevate your own game and do the things that you're good at. I was talking about your skill sets as a pediatric neurosurgeon. I mean, that's big skills. And if you would know more than anyone, being a director and all these different positions that you've held in your life, about putting people in the right position and giving them the room to grow and prosper. And so you're not micromanaging people. Talk about that for just a second here. I know we'll talk about the family when we come back from break here in a few minutes, but putting people in the right position to be successful. I mean, that's the title of today's show, kind of Live to Give. And we're going to talk about provider wellness. The support staff that you encourage and you build around you in the healthcare industry. Talk about that a little bit, would you please? I mean, all of the things that you've experienced, please.
Yeah, I would say, Tom, that I learned more on a crab fishing boat, how to get better in healthcare and how to be an effective team member. Because I would say that in healthcare, we're sort of I type of people, and on a crab boat, it's sort of we. And as you develop teams or develop to be your best, you have to leave your ego at the door. Because at the end of the day, as you build teams, you want to build teams that are unlike yourself. You want to be able to connect at the heart with your team members. You want to be able to know their strengths and weaknesses. You want to know about their family, because I think connecting at the heart and developing teams, individuals that are not like yourself, that continue to elevate the bar. And I would say that that elevates everyone's bar, because at the end of the day, it's how we can help others be their best.
And that's where your slides came in, your notes for today's episode. And, we've got a minute to go before we go to break here, so I'm going to carry this through and you can set it up in a second here. But Bruce Arian, football coach Bruce Arian, had a video I just stumbled across this week, Tony, talking about how he doesn't want his assistant coaches spending, 18 hours a day in the office. He wants them to not miss out on the games, not miss out on the recitals, not miss out on the kids' stuff that they're doing, because you don't get those days back. You've talked about that in the past. You and I both have experienced this with our children that are growing up and they're young adults now. You got a minute to go. Talk about that, and then talk a little bit about Live to Give and what we're going to talk about today, please.
I often say is in order to perform at your best is performance equals skill minus interference. And what I mean by that, if you're an elite scholar, elite athlete, elite coach, or elite whatever you do, you can have all the skill in the world, but if you can't block out your interferences, whatever those interferences is, if you're not mentally well, if you're not happy and satisfied, if you're not doing purposeful work, if you're not in healthy relationships, if you're not showing compassion towards yourself, it's really difficult to perform at the highest level. But what I'm beginning to learn more and more over the last year is serving others is key to having wellness.
Leave it there, Tony, because we're going to go to break here. Let me carry this through here and reset everything. Dr. Tony Avellino is with us today. Anthony Avellino, my brother from another mother. Live to Give. Performance living is one of our new categories and topics on the radio program. Love talking about, because as we are growing older, we want to elevate our performance professionally, personally, across the board. Because if you're doing that, you're doing some things right, and it's all good. Again, Performance Living. Dr. Anthony Avellino is back. Live to Give. This is the Tom Matt Show.
This segment of the Tom Matt Show is brought to you in part by the Source of Light and Power by band leader Archival and broadcaster Mitch Anderson. Hear the sound that is endorsed by Odyssey headphones, linear tube audio, RME converters, and Peluso microphones at sourceoflightandpower.bandcamp.com.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
The second segment of the Tom Matt Show is sponsored by Craig Stiles, Ameriprise Financial. Again, as I say every episode, all of our retirement zone savings are with Ameriprise Financial. Thanks to Craig Stiles for managing that. I don't look at the portfolio that often because I don't really want to bother myself with it. I got other things to do, but I'd like to see where we're at. And even with the little bit of withdrawals that we take from it, I should say, we still have the same amount, and if not a little bit more. So it's like, okay, Craig, keep doing what you're doing, because with your Ameriprise financial advisor and ours, Craig Stiles, he can help you plan for the life you want today and well into the future. And that's what he's doing for us. With the right financial advisor, life can be brilliant. Please call Craig at 1-800-528-1355. The local number is 517-483-4893. Craig.stiles@ampf.com. Again, email craig.stiles@ampf.com. Offices are located at the new spot, 2651 Coolidge Road, Suite 103, East Lansing, Michigan, 48823. Stations that have carried us in the past, carry us now. Of course, the Michigan Talk Network with over 40 to 50 stations across the state and across the Midwest. Not all are talk, but a lot of them are, and you just never know who's picking us up at that time because everything's automated in radio now. So the Michigan Talk Network, thanks to Stephen Ivy Gruber for carrying us. The Big Stick WJIM is the flagship of the Michigan Talk Network, and they blast us out multiple times on weekends all over the place. WGHN 92.1 in Grand Haven carried us first and foremost. I will always mention them. WJRW 1340 in Grand Rapids carried us for a long, long time. WKOQ 1490 in Muskegon, Whitehall. WYPV FM 94.5 way up north in Mackinac City. There's plenty of stations that carry us. Any station I didn't mention, if you want me to include you in this read, send me a note. Send us, go to the contact box, tommattshow.com, and send us a note. I'll be happy to do that. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not say my alma mater, my home, Michigan State University, AM 870 WKAR, carrying us Sundays at 5. Great slot. Love it, Brett. Thank you for doing what you're doing over there. East Lansing, go green.
Go white.
Exactly. See, Tony knows that because he was at the university with me. Craig Stiles from Decidery Analytics is our guy. And again, we are making light of weighted decisions as a tagline with Decidery. Decidery, where he actually assisted a student friend of mine, Anya Gerstenberg, with her capstone project for her senior project at Michigan State University. And she did an analysis on Decidery Analytics. She is a math major, computational mathematics, very high level mathematics stuff, talking about the program of Decidery Analytics. And I'm telling you, the kid got a 4-point on that. It was wonderful. It's awesome. That's all I got to say about that. Again, thanks to Stephen Ivy Gruber for all that. We do have our 4 books on Amazon, that thing called Amazon, with Generation Us being the latest and greatest. Okay, Dr. Avellino is back with us today. Tony, my brother from another mother. Live to Give. Performance living is our new thing that we do with Tony. It's so much fun, getting so much better at this thing. And it's just really a springboard, right, Tony, into helping people understand all of the nuances that are out there with having that higher performance in your life. Before we start talking about our topic today of Live to Give and provider wellness and serving others and innovation, which that's probably 3 shows in itself right there. We didn't talk in the first segment about the fam. Please talk about Ashley and Michael, and of course, beautiful Jen. Get everybody caught up on all that. You know how the fam likes to hear their name on podcasts and radio, so please go. And all your friends in mid-Michigan, you have so many friends. You guys have deep roots here. Please go ahead. Everybody wants to know how you guys are doing.
Yeah, Tom, things have been going great. I must say that the weather in Arizona has been very hot, but my son is in Seattle, Washington this summer. As you know, he graduated from Okemos High School. His significant other also graduated from Okemos High School. So him and his girlfriend of 3 years have been in Seattle. He's doing an internship out there. My daughter is finished in Arizona State University. She just moved into a new apartment. She's going to begin law school at Arizona State U in the fall. And my wife is doing great. Her horse is doing great, Levi, and our two dogs, Parker and Snow, are doing great too.
Parker's the sweetest dog.
I must say that we were in Seattle, Washington, the last week, and the weather was absolutely beautiful there, and it reminds me of the weather in the Midwest at times. It was cool. It was really nice. So how are things with you, Sandy, your wife? And
things are really good, Tony. Thank you for asking. Sandy has been recovering from a little bit of health issues earlier this year. She's doing way better.
Okay.
You know what? One thing that I've been really encouraging her to do, and she's been just picking up her game very much. And I will encourage listeners to think about this, because as we are growing older, Sandy had to pick up her game as far as her exercise classes. She's made some new friends at some of these exercise classes she goes to, and the fitness and the mobility that she's. I compliment her and I say, you know what, your body looks great. I mean, we had some guys over here to help us give us an estimate on some work at the house the other day, Tony, and one of the young men, he's in his 40s. He said, he was trying to guess how old we were, and he said, "Well, you guys, you don't even look like you're 50." He says, "What are you, in your late 40s?" And when I told him we were both 65 years old, he just about fainted. He was just like, "What?" And it's all this good living, Tony, all these things I've learned from you and all my doctor friends and Chris Johnson and Matt Johnson at On Target Living. I mean, performance living is doable. And so, I mean, living to give, that's part of what we do this radio show, Tony, right? I mean, we're giving back to people, this freebie radio program, podcast thing, living to give. I would like you to set up the three things that we're going to kind of cover the rest of the show with: provider wellness, serving others, and innovation. Kind of set that up. Why is it important to talk about provider wellness, Tony?
Yeah, I often say that in any type of field you're in, having wellness is absolutely key. Because as you and I spoke about in the past, is how does one become elite? How does one become elite? And we went through how to train your body, how to train your craft, how to train your mind. And that's really about mental health. But I must say that over the last year, I'm beginning to recognize that spiritual health and relationship health and giving back to others, serving others in conjunction with healthy mind, healthy body is really important. But I think, when we think about physical health and mental health, I think serving others plays a really significant role.
And we'll come back. We're going to jump right into that when we come back from break, everybody, because Dr. Avellino is with us, Dr. Tony Avellino. Living to Give, performance living, our newest topic. Tony and I came up with this together. We were having so much fun doing radio together, and it's just been blossoming, and there's just so much to talk about. There's so many different ways that you can improve your performance in your life, and it doesn't matter how old you are, because age is just a number. You're listening to The Tom Matt Show.
Thank you again to our Segment 2 sponsor, Craig Stiles of Ameriprise Financial. For more information on services provided by Craig, please visit ameripriseadvisors.com/Craig.Stiles or by calling 517-483-4893. You're tuned in to The Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Third segment of the Tom Matt Show is sponsored by Jamie White, White Law, Christine White, the crew behind the crew. Jamie's the man. I mean, he's so good. Sponsor of the Mad Dog Minute with David DeMarco. Love his support and help. White Law PLLC. Let me tell you guys something here. White Law PLLC is where justice meets compassion. White Law is our advocate, your advocate, my advocate in times of need. I called Jamie recently for a friend. He immediately got back to me about this. I needed some advice on some things. Stuff happens in life. Things happen all the time, okay? White Law is your advocate in times of need. Reach out to them. They are here to listen, support and fight for what you deserve. And you got to know that your money, that if you're going to invest money with a specialist like a pediatric neurosurgeon or an attorney or a real estate mogul or whatever, you got to know that you're getting that trust and that service. That's what you're going to get with White Law. White Law, White Law, White Law, 517-777-9785. You can go online. They have a great website, whitelawpllc.com. whitelawpllc.com. You can go to our homepage, tommattshow.com, and at the bottom of the homepage, you can find all of our sponsors and other friends, and you can click right on through and get some things taken care of. And that is that. So again, thank you to Jamie and Christine White for what they do for us, and we appreciate you. And I love talking to Jamie and his stories. Smart dude. MSU alum twice over. And he's just a good dad, a good husband. He's just a great guy. Just like my guest today, Dr. Anthony Avellino, Tony Avellino, my brother from another mother. Live to Give. Started talking about provider wellness. And we could talk about just everybody's wellness, but provider wellness was something that Tony shot over in his notes for today's episode. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be great. This is awesome. Tony, again, we started to talk about this a little bit about the provider wellness and everything that, you mentioned how to become elite and the mental, physical, spiritual aspects of your life. We get caught up. People get caught up and they don't understand that giving back could be one of the best things you could do for your health. Go ahead, Tony, please. I'm going to let you have some time here and just riff on that thing. Go for it, brother.
Like you said, Tom, it's not just provider wellness. It's in any type of work that one does is having effective wellness, have effective work-life balance is key. Having to find joy in your work, to find happiness in your life. But I often say that what do we want? Whatever job that we're doing, we want to provide quality work. We want to be efficient at the work. We want to have input, but at the end of the day, we want to be appreciated. And that sort of delves into a lot that we're talking about. Over the last year, we've spoken a lot about physical health, mental health, but I think spiritual health and relationship health is really key. And that sort of delves in that whole concept of how we serve others, because I often say anything that can decrease one's level of stress, it reduces the inflammation in your body and promotes wellness.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I mean, you in your notes, you talk about provider wellness, that it's essential to the triple aim of providing quality care, improved patient experience, and lower costs. Is that doable? Is that something that you work on in your career, Tony, as a director at the hospital? You've run many big organizations, but how important is that to grasp and so people understand that?
Healthcare is such an essential area for all of us because without having your health, it's really tough. And so being well, but I often say is that as we come out of the COVID-19 pandemic, the burnout rate of physicians prior to the COVID pandemic was about 40%. And if you look at after the COVID pandemic, it's higher. So if you realize that if we have 1 million physicians in the United States, conservatively, if 40% burnout, we have 400,000 physicians that have concerns of burnout. And I truly think that's a public health crisis. But I often say, in order to really develop the triple aim of medicine, providing the best care, improve patient experience, and reducing costs, provider wellness and patient satisfaction are intimately aligned. Because if your providers, regardless if they're physicians, nurses, admin staff, if they're not happy and serving others and doing good, they can't provide the very best care.
That is so well put, because I have found that even my personal physician, who is an awesome guy, he's an athlete, he's a Spartan, Dr. Tom Jameson, his wife is great, Debbie. They've been so helpful to us. But the other thing that's been interesting, Tony, is, and he's in his early 80s. I mean, he's in tip-top shape.
He's young.
He's young.
He's still
great. He's still got 25 years to go. And I mean, he looks it. I'm telling you, man, he looks it. The thing that I found lately, though, is getting people into these clinics to get a primary care physician is hard, because a lot of doctors, because of what you're talking about with the burnout, is they're over capacity. They can't take new patients. And so Dr. Jameson and the clinic that he's working at now, they're really good. I've sent a couple of people over there. Sandy's got in there over there. I got a student, I mentioned earlier. She's got in. It's challenging. Talk about that, Tony, about what do people do if they can't find a primary care physician? They can't get into these. I like to think of them as cliques or groups or something, but if they're full, they're full. And if they can't take any more patients, what are people going to do?
Tom, that's a really important question. And healthcare is changing so rapidly, and having access to a primary care physician is getting really tough these days, because a lot of people are not going into primary care per se, because oftentimes the salaries of primary care versus specialists in medicine are very, very different. And I often say, if you look at the average debt of a medical student coming out of medical school, it's over $190,000. And so if you start out with a $190,000 debt, and if you want to, and after you finish medical school at age 26, or so, is being a resident, your salaries are not very high. And if you're training for 3 years or 5 years, the amount of money that you make to cover your debt is really tough. And I often say that the things that really keep people up at night, and two of the things protective for provider wellness is, one is having the ability to handle debt. And then two is having a mentor.
That's a really good point, Tony. I'm going to carry this through because we're going to come up on break. Having a mentor and mentoring others is going to help your soul. And again, as we're talking about provider wellness and serving others, we'll come back. We'll continue the thread of serving others, and we'll talk some more about innovation as we go farther into the show. But helping others, serving others, mentoring others, having proteges who look up to you, and giving them advice on financial management is incredibly important. I can't tell you guys how many students I talk to, and I'm just giving them just little pearls of saving money and how renting is going to never allow you to have any type of established wealth. So you have to, as we have done with our Reality of Real Estate episodes with Brock Fletcher, we talk about this all the time, Tony, and I'm going to close this segment here by saying that today's episode, everybody, Live to Give. Dr. Anthony Avellino is here. Always a performance living topic and category with Dr. Avellino. It's our specialist right here. Performance living is one of our fun things we like to do. Stick around. We'll be coming right back here. You're listening to The Tom Mann Show.
Thank you again to our segment 3 sponsor, White Law PLLC, where justice meets compassion. White Law is your advocate in times of need. We are here to listen, support, and fight for what you deserve. Contact White Law today for your free consultation. Visit us at whitelawpllc.com or call 517-777-9785. This is The Tom Mann Show.
Welcome to the Tom Mann Show.
Fourth segment of the Tom Mann Show is sponsored by Brock Fletcher, selling team of Keller Williams, another great Spartan. Got Spartans all over the place. Of course, we are all Spartans around here. We're not prejudiced against any other universities except for the one down in Ann Arbor. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. Don't all you blue people get excited. Just you know how it is. We love you guys down there in Ann Arbor, except for a couple times a year. Then we don't. But that's the way it rolls. Brock Fletcher, the selling team of Keller Williams Realty. Again, full disclosure, Mike Dedman helped us find Little House Lansing and buy it. Brock Fletcher helped us with the story of Big House Holt and how we got rid of that during the pandemic. I mean, talk about stress. having 3 mortgages all at one time. Whew, that was something. Brock helped me get through that one because he has the most trust of anything, and he told me, and I believed in him because I do trust him. Please call Brock today at 517-853-6408, or his cell phone number. This is the big one, 517-303-3262. I'm going to say it again because you can text, you can leave a voicemail. He will get back to you. Use this number, 517-303-3262. You can go online to kwsellingteam.com. Sell your home without hassles. Find somebody you can trust, like a Mikey Deadman, like a Brock Fletcher, like all the crew over there. And Brock, another thing that Brock's doing, and again, he's the subject matter expert for the reality of real estate, so you can find all those episodes, like 15 or 20 of them on our website. Go for it. If you've got questions on real estate, if you're on the fence with real estate, if you're looking to relocate, looking to downsize, upsize, whatever you're going to do, the selling team of Keller Williams is the way to go. That's it. Brock Fletcher is the guy. Again, let me give you that phone number one more time. 517-303-3262. Tell him Tommy sent you. He knows that came from radio because my radio friends call me Tommy, and that's all good in the hood. Sell your home without hassles. Buy your home without hassles. That's the way it goes. Brock is the man. Dr. Anthony Avellino is my guest today. Performance living is our topic when Dr. Avellino is with us. We talk about all kinds of things related to having a higher performing life. I mean, there's just a million different ways we can go with this stuff. Tony, we're going to talk about this, the proven ways to serve others. You've got some really interesting, because we talk about this stuff all the time. We just mentioned it earlier in the show, where by giving back to people, just by doing radio like this, by taking your time to share, by me taking my time to share with people, it rewards us. It's intrinsically rewarding. And we're trying to encourage people to do more of this. So talk about that, please. All the proven ways of serving others is can help yourself.
Sure. Recently, I read this great book called The Wonder Drug. And it was a book recommended from a friend of mine about a year ago. And I finally had a chance to read it. And I must say that it's a book by Dr. Treziak and his colleague, Dr. Mazzarelli. And in their book, they really break it down into 3 areas. 1, the diagnosis, an epidemic of self-serving. 2 is the cure, serving others. And then 3 is 7 steps that one can take now. And so if we go through it, if you diagnose wellness, because wellness comes in all different shapes and forms, and I have to be careful when I talk about work-life balance, because it's not about working less, it's working more efficiently and being able to say no. But in the culture that we're in now, it's sort of a me type of culture. And if you live to give, if you give people a sense of belonging to something bigger than themselves that feeds their souls, and if you have this relationship mindset, and I think you can have physical health, you can have mental health, but I think relationship health and social health is really important, because one thing that I think the COVID-19 pandemic has done is created isolation. And I think isolation and loneliness is not very good. And the second thing that they go through in the book is how to cure it. And so if you're serving others, because in your body, if you have all this anxiety and stress in the world, you're working hard, you're climbing, you're actually driving down the road and someone goes right in front of you. But it's really how one can decrease their systemic inflammation. Because I think if you decrease the chronic stress, that decreases the inflammation in your body. And I think you begin to feel better. Because Viktor Frankl, one of the Holocaust survivors, always said that one's personal dedication to a cause is greater than oneself. And so that leads us to really the prescription, because I must say that Serving others brings a sense of wellness and sense of joy that I don't think people think of. And over the last 10 years, it's something that I didn't really think of that much. And I think going through it with you, Tom, I think it will be a powerful thing for the listeners to sort of take these nuggets of information to see how they can apply it to their life to be their best.
I love it. I mean, it's serving others. You have the hormones that are they can be ramped up in your body, and you have the endorphins, you have the dopamine, you have the oxytocin, which is the oxytocin, the love hormone. That's the huggy thing. So serotonin. All of these things are derived, and they work in your brain. And so when you talk about decreasing chronic stress and systemic inflammation, I hear all this talk all the time, Tony, but it's like, okay, that's all well and good, but can it really happen if we're helping others? Can we decrease our stress? Have you seen this happen?
Yeah, it is. I often say that anything that decreases one's level of stress, I think brings more wellness and more happiness. It could be anything. It could be prayer, it could be music therapy, it could be meditation, it could be gardening, it could be reading. Anything that brings you a sense of peace and joy is actually really important.
How impactful do you think that the technology, we're going to talk about technologies in the next segment, but as far as the personal technologies that we have now with always being connected, do you think that that's adding a significant layer to our stress levels with always being turned on, always having a computer in your hand, always look? I mean, I see students all the time. You do too. You have young people around you all the time. I mean, these kids are born with it in their hands.
Yeah. I think the social media has really given kids a sense of isolation. And I think because human beings are social people, and having those relationships where you can talk face to face someone is actually really important. And I think I often say that the social media and technology is actually good and bad. It's good because it makes your life more efficient, but it's bad in that you don't have that social interaction. You don't have that interaction with people to get their feedback, how their emotions are, how they're feeling, how one reads the room. And I think those are really important.
Certainly. Absolutely well said. Now, we have about a minute to go before we go to the fifth segment, Tony, and you have a 7-step process here that you have in your notes. And I'm not going to, you can kind of start with that, and I'll give you the signal when we're coming up on break here. But go ahead, start and give everybody kind of a quick snapshot on the prescription, the 7 steps that you want to take, the start small and be thankful. I like the be thankful a lot. Can you talk about that real quickly?
Sure. The 7 steps that the Wonder Drug goes into is start small, and we can discuss that more. But it only takes 16 minutes of your time. It's how you give feedback, how you connect more, how you do kind acts, how you have more compassion. 2 is to be thankful. It gets back to what we discussed before about from a wellness standpoint. What do people want in their work? They want to provide quality work. They want to be efficient. They want to have input. And at the end of the day, they want to be appreciated. 3rd is how you be purposeful in your interactions. 4th is how to find common ground. 5 is how you see it. 6 is how to elevate it. And 7 is know your power.
Perfect. I mean, we were right on time here. This guy's getting so good at this production stuff. Let's tell you what, we have unleashed the beast that is Dr. Avellino, the radio star. Live to give. We're going to expand on those 7 steps when we come back. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you again to our segment 4 sponsor, Brock Fletcher, real estate agent at the selling team with Keller Williams Realty. For more information on services provided by Brock, please call his personal cell phone at 517-303-3262 or by emailing Brock at kwsellingteam.com. This is the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
I want to remind everybody, if you want to get a hold of me, you got ideas on topics, you got ideas on guests, send me a note. Contact box on tommattshow.com works great. Perfect. Email goes directly to Sandy. She will get it to me, and away we will go. tommattshow.com. Again, remember, we have all of our YouTube is there, all of our TikTok is there. It's just a one-stop shopping for us. Dr. Avellino, how would you like people to get a hold of you, my man? Tell them, talk about your book, talk about speaking, talk about anything you'd like. Go right ahead, please.
Sure. Over the last 5 years or so is as I tell my story more and more, I think it's important to give back. And I often say is no one should ever hit rock bottom like I did. And there's things that one can do to perform at their highest level. But as Tom mentioned, I recently wrote a book. It's called Finding Purpose: A Neurosurgery Journey of Hope and Healing. My website is findingpurposeavellino.com. You can email me at avellino37@gmail.com. And I welcome any feedback because the importance of what Tom Matt is doing on his Tom Matt radio show is really is storytelling. Giving people information, giving people information that they could internalize to make themselves better.
Thank you, Tony. That's very, very kind of you to say that. It's a passion play for us, always has been, continuing to learn and to be at this point in my life. That's why I do the videos, why I had to do with the hashtag Dad Talks. While we're going to do I'm going to be doing the 65, 35, 45, 55 video series here pretty quick. Just to help people understand that age is just a number, and we all go through these planes in life. We have these 4 segments of life, as I like to say. You have your youth, you have your young adult, you have your middle living, and then you have your superior seniors all the way up to 100 years old. So everybody's going to go through these 4 phases at some point, hopefully. And so we want to try to maximize this. So the 7 steps leads us into that path, because these 7 steps are perfect. And I'm definitely going to be checking out the Wonder Drug book, Tony. Thank you for that one. Wonder Drug, everybody. That's where we're deriving some of the notes from. But go ahead and expand on the 7 steps, Tony. You illustrated that very clearly and articulated that very clearly before we wrapped the previous segment. But expand on that a little bit, and then we'll do talk about some innovation stuff. Get as much of that in as we can. Go ahead.
Sure. The prescription, the 7 steps to take now that the Wonder Drug book outlines is: 1 is smart small. So every day, if you give 60 minutes of your time where you connect more with others, do kind acts, showing compassion, selfless service to others is actually key. Like, for example, if you wake up in your morning and if you help your spouse and kids out preparing lunch, or other actually things. 2 is be thankful, because oftentimes showing appreciation towards someone is really important. So writing a short thank you note to someone to actually show your appreciation. Like after the show, I'll write Tom, man, that was a great radio show. Thank you for what you do. 3rd is how you be purposeful, meaning that it's what can I do to make your day a little better? What can I do to make your day a little better? And I really think doing some kind acts is key. In this world, in the political climate we're in, it's so black and white. And finding common ground with others is absolutely key. Because regardless of if you're on the right or left side of the aisle, we all have some common ground. You know, we enjoy seeing the sunset. We all cry. We all care about our kids, our friends. Next thing, 5 is see it, because you have to see it to feel it. 6 is elevate, because you want to gravitate towards people who do kind things for others and are happy about it. What I mean by that is just to do things But do things that you're passionate about that brings you purpose, and passion is key. And then the last thing is know your power. And I think this is important because using your time, talent, and treasure to serve others. For example, last week when my wife were in Seattle, we were walking around the lake, and we saw this homeless person that just didn't want to talk, that just wanted to talk. And so my wife and I stopped, and we literally spent a half hour with this person. And after we actually spoke to him, he was like, "Well, thank you for talking with me. Thank you for listening." And I think what people really need in this world is we need more compassion. We need to use our time to help others. And then last is the book ends with a few quotes. One of the quotes they use is, "You are powerful, be empathetic, compassionate, grateful, caring, and kind are the human beings' greatest strengths." And then another quote that they mention is, "Your mind shines brightest when you enlighten others, your heart when you encourage others, your soul when you elevate others, and your life when you empower others." And I think that's really powerful.
I don't think it's really powerful. I know it's really powerful because when you can empower other people, when you can encourage other people, when you can see people make changes in their life, I have seen this. I have experienced this. Tony has experienced this. This is a fact. I mean, we're not a couple of spring chickens here. We're growing older adults ourselves. We're both dads. I'm a papa. Tony will be a papa at some point someday. I mean, when you start to see these things, when you start to experience these things, when you empower others, it is absolutely earth-shattering and can change your life so much. Plus, it gives you that connection, just like Tony was talking about with him and Jen talking to the homeless person. They just wanted to talk to someone. Tony, we only got about 3 or 4 minutes to go here, and I just wanted to touch on innovation, and we'll do a whole show. I promise all the listeners out there, Tony and I will do a whole show on innovation. I'm making a star on it right now. We'll do a whole episode on innovation. But Tony, on a high altitude, 3 or 4 minutes here, what are some of the things? Because I got stats I could go into, but I don't think we have enough time to really explore that. What are some of the things you'd like people to know about innovation in healthcare? And I mean, because it's just the pandemic changed everything with telemedicine and all that. There's so much coming. Is AI going to be helpful or a hindrance? I don't know. I mean, what's your opinion on all of the new tech that's out there?
I would say that artificial intelligence and big data science is going to be absolutely key. For example, is Arizona State University is developing a medical school that has an engineering bent, and they'll be one of 3 medical schools in the nation that have this engineering bent. And really integrating engineering and medicine and AI and big data science is really important. Because I often say when I went to medical school in the 1980s, we sort of had a finite set of information that we needed to learn. But now, 30 years later, there is so much information on health regarding immunology, cancer treatments, cancer biology, and really AI and big data science is going to enable the future physicians, the future nurses, to sort of sift through that information to provide the very best healthcare.
Well, that's the whole thing. It's like, not to have to go to the library and look up things, then just have the search engine do the work for you. I don't think people need to be afraid of it. I think they need to embrace the tools, because the tools that are out there. I mean, just quickly, a couple of stats that I got here that I'll share with you guys. That AI in healthcare could save between 5 and 10%. AI healthcare statistics show 90% of nursing tasks will still be performed by humans, but by 2030, the market in AI for healthcare is projected to reach $187 billion. By 2026, the market for robot-assisted surgeries may be worth $40 billion. Those are just right off the top of the internet stats that come out here. So you can see how we can have a long conversation, and I promise you that we will. Tony, let's do a recap and a close here. What's your takeaway? Got a minute to go before we got to wrap the show. What's your takeaway from today's episode, which again, another solid one? Serving others was huge. Learned, live to give, performance living. What's your takeaway from today's episode, Tony?
I think in order for someone to perform at their very best, having physical health and mental health, but that relationship and spiritual health is key. Because I think giving back, being kind to people, listening, spending time with them is a very powerful thing. And I often say that in the healthcare world, sometimes you have to take off your physician hat and just listen, because listening can truly save a life.
Perfect. Thank you, Tony, for doing that. Getting so good at radio. I can't believe it. If our show fits your business or group's mission, we want to be of service to you through our guests, like a Dr. Avellino. Topics, issues, please let us know. We're here to serve you and help you. That's the whole point of what we do here. Always remember, before you can share love with others, you must love yourself first. Thanks again to Dr. Anthony Avellino. He's a hero in my mind. Sandy, Matt, Craig Stiles, Brock Fletcher. We've got Jamie White. All the students that we've worked with over the years. Many, many, many students. We'll talk to you next weekend, everybody. Have a great week. Go out and ignite your life. Remember, the Tom Matt Show is a production of Boomers Rock Media. We want to bring your story to life. Lastly, I want to say, two lastlies actually. Thank you to Mitch Anderson and to our virtual producer, Vanessa. Thank you so much, everybody. We're out.
The Tom Matt Show is produced by Mitch Anderson of Black Circle Studios. Original music from the Source of Light and Power by the Ark of All.